Welcome back to Iron Suits, where strength wears the crown. I am your host, Marwan Killu, coach to CEOs, business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives who are at the top of their game, but tired of feeling like their body isn't keeping up with their success. Today, we're going to talk about needs versus wants. I haven't come up with a title yet. I'll do that later on, but I wanted to get this out to you. So I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and I actually started because I watched a video about needs versus wants. Funnily enough, it's a super simple concept, right? But it clicked something for me about why so many high performers are stuck with their physique. And I'm just going to be straight out with you today because I think some of you need to hear this. So let me set this up properly because I want you to really understand where I'm coming from. Okay? I work with successful guys, and I've worked with some of the real successful people, like real successful CEOs, business owners, private equity guys, executives running divisions of Fortune 500 companies. And almost universally, there's this one thing that they can't figure out, and that's their body. Everything else is dialed in, the business is growing or already massive, finances are handled, they're providing for their families at levels their parents couldn't even imagine, okay? They got the lifestyle markers of success, you know, like a nice house, nice car, travel well, all of it. But their body is the one thing that doesn't match the rest of the picture. And here's what's interesting. They know it. They feel it. And they've been approaching it completely wrong. So let me break down what I think is actually happening here and why the solution isn't another fucking workout program or a meal plan. Because here's a core issue. You don't need a six-pack. You don't need abs, bricks for abs. You don't need to be jacked. Your basic survival needs, those are handled. Food, shelter, safety. Like you cleared that bar a decade ago, maybe even two. You're living in abundance. Nice house, nice cars, successful business. You've exceeded basic needs in every other area of your life. So why in the fuck are you still thinking about your body like you're just trying to survive? I need to lose weight. I should get healthier. I need to do something about this. That survival language, right? And it's completely disconnected from your reality. You're not in survival mode in your business. You're not in survival mode with your finances. You're not in survival mode with your lifestyle. But your body, you're still operating from that old program. And that's exactly why nothing is working. Let me riff on this for a bit because I think it's going to land for some of you. Here's what I see constantly with the guys that I work with. So you build this identity as a high performer. You're someone who executes, someone who gets shit done, someone who doesn't make excuses. That's how you are in business, right? You're the guy who closes deals, makes tough decisions, shows up when it matters. When everyone else is wavering, you're the one who steps up and handles it. You're the first one to put your hands up. You've probably got stories about the times you pushed through when it would have been easier to quit. Times you made the hard call. Times you sacrificed short-term comfort for long-term wins. That's your identity there. That's who you've become. And you're probably pretty fucking proud of that. As you should be. But when I watch you struggle to show up to the gym, I then struggle to show you to see you, and then and then I'll watch you struggle to show up to the gym 3 times a week. You call yourself disciplined, but you can't skip the breadbasket at dinner. You pride yourself on consistency in business, but you started and quit more workout programs than you can count. You say you're a high performer, but you're out of breath walking 2 flights of stairs. You tell yourself you're strategic and forward thinking, but can't plan your meals 24 hours in advance. And look, I'm not saying this to be a dick, right? I'm saying it because there's a massive gap between the identity that you have in your head and what your body is showing the world. Now, if you've read Robert Greene's work, The 48 Laws of Power, The Laws of Human Nature, he talks about something crucial. You have to consciously create yourself. Your identity isn't something that just happens by accident. It's something you build deliberately in every area of your life. And right now, you built an incredible identity in business, but you've let your physical identity happen by default, by neglect, by hoping it would just work itself out. You've created this powerful public persona, the successful CEO, the decision maker, the guy who has it all together. But there's a gap between what the public image is and the private reality. And Greene understood this. The gap creates an internal conflict that eats at you. And here's what he understood about power and relationships too, if you read that book. People respond to your complete presence, not just your accomplishments. People respond to your complete presence, not just your accomplishments. Your wife doesn't feel the attraction to your bank account. She feels it when you walk into a room with genuine power, when your physical presence matches your status. And right now, there's the disconnect. She sees the success. She respects what you built, but that primal attraction, that gets eroded when your body doesn't reflect the man you've become in every other way. When you're hiding yourself, when you lack confidence in your physical appearance. See, she feels all that, even if she doesn't say it. Your business partner sees that gap. Your wife sees it. Maybe she's trying to bury herself in romance novels or scrolling Instagram instead of having sex with you. You definitely fucking see it when you get dressed in the morning or catching your reflection in the store window. Here you are, sitting in first class with the gut spinning over $2,000 Hermes belt. You got the G-Wagon in the driveway, but you're adjusting the seat because your stomach hits the steering wheel. You spend $300K on a Lambo, $3K, but you can't even fit in it comfortably. You're closing 7, maybe 8-figure deals, but you can't even do 10 push-ups without stopping. Heck, you're making decisions that affect hundreds of people, but you can't make a decision about what to order at lunch without sabotaging yourself. And here's a brutal truth. Nobody's going to call you out on it because your success gives you a pass. People will overlook it because you're crushing it in every other area. They'll make excuses for you. He's busy. He's stressed. He's got a lot on his plate. But you know, you feel it every day. And there's this quiet knowing that external success isn't matching the internal reality. You should feel more powerful than you do. You should feel more confident than you do. And that gap that dissonance between who you are professionally and who you are physically, that's eating at you. Maybe not consciously every day, but it's there in the background, always. It shows up when you're at the beach and you keep your shirt on. It shows up at the 5-star resorts when you go to the pool and keep your shirt on. It shows up when you're getting intimate with your wife and you're thinking about your gut instead of being present. It shows up in business meeting when you're adjusting how you're sitting because you don't want people to see the full picture. You built an empire, but you're living in a body that doesn't reflect that empire. And somewhere deep down, you know that matters more than you're willing to admit. So here's where we need to shift this whole conversation. You've been conditioned to think about your body in terms of needs. I need to get healthy. I should lose weight. That scarcity mindset you probably grow up with, right? And I grew up the same way. Everything was about be grateful for what you have. Don't ask for too much. Don't be vain. And that programming runs deep, man. Like that runs deep. Like even years into making good money, I would feel guilty about wanting nice things. I definitely didn't allow myself to want an extravagant physique, right? That felt selfish, superficial, vain. Even now, my parents will like talk to me in Arabic. They look at me and I'm walking around with like breaks for abs, 9% body fat, elite body, jacked. Heck, I'm 48 and like kids half my age come up to me and say, dude, you look good. You look fucking good. You know, paying me compliments in the gym. And like my parents were like, oh, mahalo. Like in Arabic, that's translated to, it's not nice. And then like, you're 48. How long are you going to keep doing this for? Gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight. You know, your face is like a skeleton. So they showed me a picture of what I was. Like, obviously, I don't gain weight because I let myself go. I gain weight because I'm bulking, right? So that's how it works. You guys know how it works, right? You bulk, you gain weight to build the extra muscle because excess energy builds muscle. So you gain a bit of weight and then you lose that weight to show the masterpiece, or you reveal the masterpiece. So they don't get it. They're like in their 80s, bless them. And so they don't understand this thing. They're like, how long are you going to continue doing it for? You're 48. And I'll come to that later. Even my wife, Hiba, says the same thing. Right? And I was like, well, like they showed me a picture when I was like 30 pounds heavier or something like that. And like, oh, your face looks good there, man. I'm like, yeah, but I was also carrying weight everywhere else. And, you know, I can't pick and choose where to lose the weight from. They're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, we'll come to that later. Here's what I had to unprogram and what you need to understand. Needs are logical, while wants and desires are sentimental or emotional. Your needs will push you just so far. And once they're satisfied, they will stop pushing you. If, however, your purpose is tied to wants and desires, then your wants and desires will keep pushing you long after your needs are satisfied. Right? And that's why I keep saying in every episode that you need to go for a six-pack. Don't just settle for what you need. Right? I need to lose 20 pounds. I need to lose 15 pounds. I need to lose 30 pounds. No, right? When I lost fat, I said that I'm going to lose fat and I'm going to get a six-pack. My goal was clear cut. And that's why we see people suddenly losing 20 pounds and then they gain back 25, 30, 40 pounds because they settled for what they needed. Okay, their needs are satisfied. They stop pushing you. Right? Like needs are logical and desires are emotional. And that's why you tie your goal to something because it pushes you, right? You don't need to feel guilty about wanting a successful business. You don't apologize for wanting financial freedom. You don't feel weird about wanting the nice house or the nice car. So why the fuck do you feel guilty about wanting an elite physique? About wanting to look like a fucking weapon? Here's where this gets real interesting, and I need you to be honest with yourself for a second. You got the trophy wife, the G-Wagon in the garage, the house on the hill, the business that's printing money. Why in the fuck do you need a six-pack or breakthrough abs on top of that? You don't. You absolutely don't need it. Right? But that's exactly why you sign up for 75 Hard. That's why you're training for Ironmans. That's why you're registering for 5Ks and marathons. Because you just can't admit you want abs. It's not like you're 21 chasing pussy at nightclubs. You've already won. You've got the girl, the lifestyle, all of it. So saying I want a six-pack feels what? Vain, superficial, like you're trying too hard. But an Ironman, that's respectable. That's I'm doing it for my health. That's I'm testing myself. That's something you can post on LinkedIn and everybody nods accordingly, or even Facebook. 75 Hard. That's what discipline and mental toughness, it's all about discipline and mental toughness. That's entrepreneurial. I'm trying to say that right. That's a metaphor for business. But wanting to look fucking good with your shirt off, that feels something you can't say out loud. So you do the harder thing, the thing that's actually more difficult, more time consuming, more disruptive to your life and your family. You'll train for months for a fucking triathlon that you don't even give a shit about. But you won't admit you want it to be jacked and look like a fucking weapon. You'll cut out whiskey and steak for 75 days. The only things that make client dinners tolerable, but you won't just say, I want an elite physique. That's fear, man. Fear of being judged. Fear of failing at the thing you actually want. Fear of admitting something that feels superficial. And here's a brutal truth. You're making it harder on yourself. You're doing more work to avoid being honest about what you actually want. Because an Ironman is not going to give you abs. 75 Hard won't build the physique you see in your head when nobody's watching. Running 5Ks won't make you look how you want to look. But they give you cover. They let you say, I'm doing something without having to own what you actually want. Now, let me go deeper because I think this is where the real breakthrough happens. Okay? You're wired as a high achiever, as a CEO or executive or business owner. You've been conditioned to take on hard things, to prove yourself, to show that you can handle more than the average person. Now, I get it because I'm like this. And that's literally how you got to where you are. You outwork people. You took on challenges others wouldn't. You said yes when others said no. You pushed when others coasted. But when it comes to your body, your brain defaults to the same pattern. What's the hardest thing that I can do? What's going to prove that I'm serious? Ironman, that's hard. That sounds impressive. That's something only a small percentage of people can do. 75 Hard, that's a challenge. That requires discipline. That's something I can post about and people will respect. Marathon training, Tough Mudder, Spartan race, all of these feel apparently difficult for someone of your caliber. I'm going to come on to a personal story in a second, but here's what you're missing. You're conflating difficulty with effectiveness. You're choosing challenges based on how impressive they sound, not whether they'll give you what you want. And what you actually want, if you're honest with yourself, is to look elite, to have breaks for abs, visible abs, to take your shirt off and command respect, to look in the mirror and see a body that matches your success. But that feels too simple, man. Too vain, too small of a goal for someone who's accomplished what you have. So you make it harder. You add unnecessary complexity. You do challenges that sound more respectable, but don't actually move you toward what you want. That's self-sabotage disguised as ambition. You're doing harsh shit to avoid admitting you want something simple. And you're doing it because the simple thing, I want to look good, feels vulnerable in a way that I am training for an Ironman doesn't. Because here's the thing, if you train for an Ironman and finish it, you succeeded. There's a medal, there's something that you can hold, there's proof, there's validation. But if you say I want a six-pack and you walk towards it and you don't get there, that's failure. That's visible. That's something that people can judge. So you pick the harder challenge with a clearer finish line, even if it's not what you actually want. Because in fitness, there's no finish line. Now, I want to talk about a personal story quickly. I won't go on for too long. So I'm wired the same way, and I do similar I've done hard shit before. So I did a challenge called Extreme Fat Loss Diet. I kid you not, over 5 days, and you go for multiples of 5 days. It goes like this: cheat day, you wake up having anything that you want, no holds barred, no food, no any food that you want. Once ate 7,000 calories, more than I care to remember. And you have a workout that day and cardio at the same time. And you have cardio, HIIT cardio. The next day, fast day. You have nothing but water and black coffee. You do 3 workouts, fasted cardio, followed by an hour and a half workout, weights, followed by HIIT cardio for an hour. Yeah. And the next day is shake day. 3 protein shakes, not fillers, not those weight gainers, protein shakes. About 300 calories, protein. And you have, again, 3 workouts, fasted cardio, weights, and another HIIT cardio. Next day is moderate carb day. We actually have a bit of carbs, not moderate food. I don't know how many calories. You have 2 workouts, weight and fasted cardio, not fasted, HIIT cardio. And the next day it's protein only, okay, in preparation for the cheat day. So protein only, no fats, horrible. Again, you're doing, I think 2 or 3 workouts, I can't remember. 2 cardio or 1 lot of cardio, 1 weights. And yeah, it worked for a while. I lost quite a lot of weight, but I gained it all back, plus interest. Because it's not sustainable. Another thing that I did in my 20s and 30s, like barbell complexes, hard shit. If you guys know what barbell complexes are, basically you pick 5 exercises, compound exercises. I think pull up, bent over rows, and a deadlift variation, a squat, and a press. Okay, so you pick your 8th rep max, you pick an 8th rep max, and you do 5 reps with it, and no rest in between each one. Right, you keep going, and yeah, great, it feels great. 25 minutes of non-stop sweat pouring down my face. People saying, "Why are you working hard?" Yeah, I'm working hard, no shit, but I'm not getting anywhere. And and then going to the sauna for an hour, and then doing cardio. Trying to lose weight the hard way. And guess what? I got a nervous system breakdown in 2019. So let me ask you, what do you actually want your body to look like? Not what you need, not what's realistic for your age. Fuck realistic. Not what you think you should want. Not what sounds respectable at a dinner party. What do you want? And all I want you to really to do is to sit with this for a second, because most guys I work with can't answer this honestly. They've never actually allowed themselves to articulate it. They'll tell me about an Ironman they've been training for. They'll tell me about the macros or their intermittent fasting protocols on the new biohacking routine. And if I say, okay, but what do you actually want to look like? You know, paint me a picture. They freeze because they've never given themselves permission to want something specific. They've been operating in this vague territory of better or healthier or more fit. And that's not a vision. That's not a goal. That's not something you work towards with real intention, because your brain doesn't respond to this. It responds to clear, specific, measurable, smart goals, okay? It doesn't need vanilla goals. It doesn't know vanilla goals. Like think about your reticular activating system. Like when you look at a car and you want a certain car, and you see all of them now in the street when you want that particular car. It's not that there are more cars now of that particular model you want, just because your brain has now started identifying them, okay? So let me help you here. Let me give you permission to be specific. Do you want visible abs, like bricks for abs, where you can see definition? Or do you want to look jacked in a t-shirt, where your arms fill out your sleeves and your shoulders and you create that V-taper? Do you want to take your shirt off at the beach or the 5-star resort at the pool and not think twice about it? Where you're not strategically positioning yourself, or, you know, sucking in and making sure the lighting is good. Do you want your wife to look at you the same way she did when you first got together, when the physical attraction was undeniable? Do you want to walk into a room and have people notice? Not because of how shiny your watch is, or, you know, your key fobs of the Lambo or the G-Wagon, the Mercedes, but because of how you carry yourself in your body. Not because of your suit, how expensive your suit is. You see, these are wants. These are specific. These are honest. And if you're feeling some resistance right now, if part of you is saying, that's shallow, or I'm too old for that, or I don't need external validation. And that's the programming talking. That's the old conditioning that says wanting these things is vain or superficial or beneath you. But let me ask you this. Is it vain to want a successful business? Is it superficial to want financial freedom? Is it beneath you to want a nice car or a nice house? No, of course not. Those are goals which you work towards, and you had a vision for this, right? And you thought about this every day. Those are things you're allowed to pursue without guilt or apology. You know, society being good at dumbing down people and, you know, with the virtue signaling bullshit. So why the fuck is your body any different? Here's why I think it's really happening. You're afraid of failing at the thing you actually want. You're afraid of failing at the thing you actually want. Because if you say, I want a six-pack, and you walk towards it and it doesn't happen, that's visible failure. That's something you have to own. That's something people can see. But if you say, I'm training for an Ironman, and you finish it, even if you don't get the physique you actually wanted, you still succeeded. You finished the race. You got the medal. You can post about it. It's a safer bet. It's a more defensible goal. It's something you can control through pure effort and time. And there's a finish line. By getting lean, getting jacked, that requires you to be honest about what you want, to be vulnerable about pursuing it, and accept that the outcome isn't entirely within your control. And for high performance, for guys who build their entire identity on controlling outcomes, on making things happen for a sheer force of will, that's terrifying. So you avoid it. You pick harder challenges that feel safer. You stay busy with fitness activities that actually move you towards what you want. And years go by and you're still in the same place, still avoiding the real conversation, still doing hard shit to avoid being honest about about wanting something simple. All right, now here's where we stop talking about it and you actually get to make a fucking decision. So decide, make the decision right now in your mind that you won't ever again be the guy at a 5-star resort who wears baggy t-shirt at the pool because you're insecure about your body. At some point, you've lost the desire to be elite, or you gave up on it completely because you think you're too old, past your prime, or you don't really need it anymore. And you're right. You're already a winner in business. You have the hot little trophy wife. You have a lifestyle that most people dream of. Your bank account is fuller than most of your friends. You've won. So why in the fuck do you care about having breaks for abs? Okay? You keep trying your own fucked up version of intermittent fasting. You keep doing goofy challenges. And what do you get? A participation trophy. A fucking participation trophy. You finish the challenge, you post about it, everyone congratulates you. 6 weeks later, you're right back where you started. All because you were never honest about what you actually wanted. You were doing acceptable hard things to avoid pursuing the real thing. So right now, right fucking now, decide that you're done with that shit. Decide that you're going to stop half-assing this. Stop doing challenges that don't give you what you want. Stop hiding behind health and longevity when what you really want is to look elite. Decide that you're going to pursue an elite physique with the same focus and intensity you bring to everything else in your life. Not because you need it, but because you want it. And that's enough. Now we get to talk about permission because this is where most guys get stuck. You've been conditioned your whole life, probably since childhood, to think about wanting things for yourself, especially when it comes to your appearance is wrong somehow. Like you grow up hearing, don't be vain, looks don't matter, real men don't care about that stuff. And maybe you're taught that focusing on your body is selfish, that there are more important things to worry about. Maybe you've internalized this idea that once you reach a certain level of success, physical appearance shouldn't matter anymore. Like you've already proven yourself. You've already won. Why do you need to look good too? And here's what that conditioning really is. It's a scarcity mindset disguised as virtue. I've said that before. Virtue signaling bullshit. It comes from a worldview where resources are limited, where wanting more means taking from someone else, where focusing on yourself is inherently selfish. And maybe that made sense in an environment where you grew up. Maybe resources actually were limited. Maybe your parents or your community were operating from genuine scarcity. I come from Baghdad. I grew up during the Iraq-Iran war and the Gulf War. I moved here during the Gulf War, to England during the Gulf War. Maybe you're still, you're not there anymore, right? You've created abundance, you've exceeded basic needs by miles. You're living in a completely different reality than the one you created, than the one that created that conditioning. So why are you still letting those old beliefs dictate how you think about your body? You don't operate from scarcity in your business. When you see an opportunity, you don't think, is it greedy to want this? You think, how do I make this happen? You don't operate from scarcity in your finances. You don't feel guilty about making more money or investing in growth or building wealth. You don't operate from scarcity with your lifestyle. You bought a nice house, you drive a nice car, you take nice vacations, you travel well, but with your body, you're still operating from that old program. I don't need the six-pack. I should be grateful for what I have. Wanting to look elite is vain. Fuck that. Here's the permission I'm giving you, and more importantly, the permission you need to give yourself. You're allowed to have an elite physique, to want an elite physique. You're allowed to want breaks for abs. You're allowed to look fucking good, like a fucking weapon. Not because you need it, not because it's healthy or the right thing to do, but because you want it, because it matters to you, because it's a part of your life you're building. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for that. You wanted a successful business, you wanted the financial freedom, you wanted the lifestyle, and you went after those things without apology. So want this too, with the same clarity, the same intensity, the same unapologetic focus. Okay, right now I'm going to go a bit esoteric on you for a second, but stay with me because this is where the real transformation happens. There's a teacher called Neville Goddard. He wrote a book called The Power of Awareness. Their feeling is the secret, and something else. And he taught something that's completely changed how I think about this. You don't become what you want, you become what you assume you are. Your entire reality is shaped by your self-concept. Your I am. And right now, your I am around your body is probably something like, I am too busy. I am too old. I am a guy who used to be in shape. I am someone who struggles with consistency. That's your identity, and your body is just reflecting that identity back at you. Every choice you make, every action you take is filtered through that identity. And as long as that's your identity, it doesn't matter what program you follow or what diet you try, you'll always end up back where you started, because you cannot out-train a false identity. Tim Grover talks about this in Relentless, where he breaks down coolers, closers, and cleaners. It's not about what they do, it's about who they are. Cleaners don't try to be great. They don't force discipline. They are just great. It's in their identity. Everything flows from that. By the way, if you haven't read that book, then you should. It's very good. You know who Tim Grover is, right? That guy who coached MJ and Kobe. You've probably been operating as a corner with your fitness, showing up when it's convenient, putting in some effort, but never fully committing. Maybe you've hit closer status a few times, getting serious for a period, seeing some results, and then sliding back. But you've never stepped into cleaner mentality with your body, where it's not about motivation or willpower, where you just are a man with an elite physique and every action flows from that identity. So here's what it needs to happen. You need to revise your self-concept. You need to stop identifying as the guy who needs to get in shape and start identifying as the guy who is in elite shape. Not in some distant future, right now. This is what Neville called living from the end. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You don't wait until you have the six-pack to feel like the guy with the six-pack. That's backwards, man. You assume that identity right now and let your actions flow from that. What does the version of you with an elite physique feel like when he walks into a room? How does he carry himself? What does he order at dinner? How does he approach training? You need to embody that now, not later. Now. Stop saying I will be in great shape. Stop saying I'm working on it. Stop saying I'm trying to lose weight. Start saying I am a man with an elite physique, and then honor that identity with every choice you make. Because here's the thing, when you operate from that identity, the choices become automatic. The man with an elite physique doesn't skip training. Not because he forces himself to go, but because that's what men with elite physiques do. It's part of their identity. A man with an elite physique doesn't eat like shit at the business dinners. Not because he's restricting himself, but because it doesn't align with who he is. You're not forcing yourself to do things that go against who you are. You're simply honoring who you've already decided to be. And this is exactly how you built your business. You didn't wait until you were successful to start acting like a successful person. You assumed the identity of a successful entrepreneur and you acted from that place. And eventually, your external reality caught up to your internal identity. Your external reality caught up to your internal identity. And the same thing here. Assume the identity of a man with an elite physique. Step into the cleaner status with your body and watch how everything shifts. Now, here's the truth, the hard truth you need to hear. Doesn't matter how much you think you know about fitness. If you look average as fuck, you don't know enough. And I know that's hard to hear because guys like you pride yourself on being smart enough to figure shit out on your own. That's literally how you build your business. You figured it out. But knowing shit when it comes to your health and physique is completely different than understanding your business. In business, you know what you don't know. You hire experts. You bring in specialists. You don't try to do your own accounting or legal work or IT infrastructure just because you're smart. But in fitness, for some reason, you think you can just figure it out. Download some app, follow some influencer, hire a trainer who works with a celebrity, and then you wonder why you hardly ever move the needle. You go to the gym, you try goofy diets, you sign up for more PT sessions, and nothing changes. Or it changes for a minute, and then you're right back where you started. No wonder you quit all the time. I would quit too if I put all this effort into something and never got the results I wanted. But here's the thing. The problem isn't your effort. The problem isn't your genetics. The problem isn't your age or your schedule. The problem is you're trying to apply a business owner mindset into something that requires a completely different approach. You need systems designed for your reality, not bodybuilder programs, not influencer diets, not generic personal training. You need someone who understands the actual constraints of your life and can build something that works within them, not despite them. And look, here's the reality. You're a high performer. You've already proven you can achieve the highest levels in business. The problem has never been your capability. It's never been your work ethic. It's never been your genetics or your age or your schedule. The problem has been your identity and your permission structure. You've been operating from an old program that says wanting an extraordinary physique is vain or selfish or unrealistic. You've been thinking in terms of needs, in terms of wants. You've been identifying as someone who used to be in shape instead of someone who is in elite shape. And that ends today. You have one body, one life, and you're living in abundance, not scarcity. So it's time to shift from survival mode to domination mode, from needs to wants, from fixing to building. So here's my challenge. Stop thinking about like someone who needs to get in shape. Start thinking like someone who's building their dream physique because they fucking want to. No guilt, no apologies, just pure unapologetic pursuit of what you actually want. Your basic needs are handled. It's time to start playing a different game. All right, that's it for today. If they're standard for you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, because like I keep saying, as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another, or some variation of this. And if you're ready to make this identity shift, to stop operating from old programs and start building a body that matches your ambition, reach out. Let's talk. Follow me on Facebook, facebook.com Marwan Killu, or LinkedIn Marwan Killu Fitness. Until next time, stop settling. Ciao for now.